Ladies and gentlemen, innovators, entrepreneurs, and visionaries, welcome back to another exciting episode of Innovation, your go to podcast for exploring the cutting edge of innovation and entrepreneurship. I'm your host, Krish Sharma, and today we're diving into a crucial yet often misunderstood aspect of business real estate and infrastructure development. On this second episode of our third season, we are honored to have Ms. Ujwala Havre, who's an expert in the real estate sector. She has a wealth of experience under her belt in strategic planning, project management, and operations. Ms. Ujwala is currently the CMD of Havre Engineers and Builders Private Limited. Here, she's played a pivotal role in steering the company towards remarkable growth and success. Her expertise in urban development and infrastructure has made her a key figure in the industry. This makes her insights invaluable for anyone looking to understand the dynamics of real estate. So get ready to be inspired as we delve into the world of real estate, innovation, and entrepreneurial brilliance. Without further ado, let's begin our conversation with Ms. Ujwala. So, how was your day been so far?
My day is very good.
And what about your commute?
My commute was also very good.
How did you come to know about IC?
I came to know about IC from Hirnay Prasad, who is my son's school friend.
So, could you give us a little introduction about yourself for the viewers?
So my name is Ujwala Havre. I am the CMD of Havre Engineers and Builders Private Limited and Ujwala Havre Legacy. And by qualification, I am an architect. And by profession, I am into construction.
That's lovely. Thank you for joining us, Ms. Havre.
Thank you.
We're gonna get started with the questions. We'll start off with some personal and early life questions. I'd love to hear how you balance your demands, like such as your role as a business leader and your personal life. How do you find time for yourself?
See, it has been almost 28 years in this business. So earlier, when me and my husband started this business, it was like we used to start at 8:39 in the morning and end up, I don't know, 11 or something like that, because that was the struggling phase. So it was very, very hectic. And if you have to do your own business, you have to like din aur raat ek karna padta hai, they
Yes.
say. So we did that. But now I definitely have set up some priorities. So in that, my health and my routine is also a priority. So I balance it now with age and with experience. Now I'm able to balance my work-life balance.
That's lovely, ma'am.
Yeah.
So, when you're not immersed in work, what are some of the things you enjoy doing to unwind and recharge yourself?
Uh, I love painting. I like painting. I like reading, but I'm not able to read much nowadays. And of course, I love traveling also.
So, are you an open painter or do you just like dabble here and there?
No, I am a very moody painter. So whenever I have a mood, I paint. I'm not a very like it's not a very regular thing,
Oh,
but I do like.
okay.
Yeah.
So, is there someone who's played a significant role in shaping who you are today as a leader?
See, me and my husband, we started this business in 1995, 96. So that time, he was also an architect. I was also an architect, and we felt that we can do better in construction. Uh, so it was there was no mentor. We were inspired by each other, and we saw that we keep on mentoring each other regarding business, because he also didn't understand much and I also did not understand much. We learned from our mistakes, we learned from our experiences, whatever came, and we worked very hard. So at that time there was no inspiration or mentor as such, but yes, definitely we both inspired each other, we can say.
That's really sweet, ma'am.
Yeah.
The real estate and industry can be incredibly high pressure because as stocks rise or people need to move or urbanize, there's a lot of cost involved, and sometimes projects get abandoned. So, how do you stay motivated in such hard times?
See, as I told you, it's been 28 years.
Hmm.
So earlier it was like there were used to be a lot of pressures, lot of stress. But with time, I have changed myself that I should be very patient in this business. And also you will have stress, or you will be impulsive, or you will be impatient if you are uh, not doing certain things right, or you are doing some wrong things, you can say. So in this business, my business is actually a very customer-centric business. So I see to it that all the ethical practices are followed in this business. I see to it that all the bylaws, all the rules and regulations are followed in a perfect way. And I think when such things are done in a right way, you have least stresses, least, and your mental balance is absolutely handled perfectly. So if there are ethics and things are followed in the right way, definitely you tend to have a good mental balance.
It's lovely. Let's start about your childhood and early influences. Can you share a little about your childhood? Like, were there any experiences that nudged you towards real estate?
My childhood was well spent in Amravati, Vidarbha,
Hmm.
and I was a very pampered child. I have an elder sister and an elder brother. So it was a very happy childhood.
So, and do you feel like any experiences nudged you towards the real estate love?
Yeah, my father was a civil engineer.
Uh-huh.
He was in irrigation department, so we visited dams and all with him. But somehow I don't know from where it came that I wanted to be an architect. And as such, I was not influenced by anyone. But yes, I wanted to be an architect since a very young age.
Do you feel like your hobby of painting or art maybe influenced you? Because when I was in 10th grade, I used to also like sketching and I used to sketch a lot of buildings.
Yeah.
Do you feel like something like that
Yes,
happened?
yes, it might be. It might be. I was a very good. I was good at drawing,
Hmm.
so maybe that's why I wanted to be an architect. In young age, you don't understand things that
Yeah,
much, but yes, it might be the reason.
that's very nice.
Yeah.
Were there any moments or experiences growing up that maybe sparked your interest in construction and development?
Actually, one of my relatives was an architect, so I had seen his house. It was a very big mansion. So I always felt that if you become an architect, you might design something like this for yourself also.
But then,
So that was a small thing, but I don't know, it was somehow fitted in my mind that I wanted to become an architect.
looking back at your younger years, are there any challenges or key moments that stand out?
Younger years means the start of my company, you mean to say?
Maybe as a student.
As a student, what challenges? Those are the small, while studying, it was not very challenging or anything. My education was smooth. Thanks to my father who regularly paid my fees and all. So that time there were no challenges. But yes, when we started the business, I got married. I got married very early when I was in my fourth year of architecture.
Oh,
So I was doing education from Mumbai to Amravati University. But that time it was definitely challenging because balancing my education and the business. I started working immediately with my husband in our office. And then as soon as I completed my architecture, we started our buildership construction business. Yeah. So those challenges were really different because everything we were doing, marketing we were doing, purchase department was handled by us, finance was handled by us, looking for lands and looking for projects was handled by us. There is a very big topic, like you can say licensing, like that is with the corporation you have to deal with. That also was done by us.
okay.
So all these things we were handling. So it was a big challenge. So it was a learning process, of course.
Did you have any role models who influenced your career decision?
I have a role model, but she did not influence me in my career decisions, but overall in my life. So my role model is Indira Gandhi. I have always looked forward to her as a very strong iron lady, especially in that era where it was really difficult for women to work. So I always look for the woman of steel in Indira Gandhi, and I'm influenced by her.
So, moving on to your professional journey and challenges that you've been facing, I'm curious about your transition into the leadership role. So, what experiences helped you, basically?
When we both started the business, there was actually a divide. My husband Satish used to look after certain things, and I used to look after certain things. But there was a big blow to me when suddenly in 2005 he expired in a car accident, and then actually a big challenge came in front of me. Like now, all the roles have to be played by myself. So there were many challenges that time. There were competitors in the market. Lots of customers had invested money into us, and the face of the company or the CMD of the company, which was Satish Havre, he suddenly expired. And now, what will happen to the company, financial institutions, or media? Everything had to be handled. So that was a very big challenge that time. But slowly, I had to be very patient and give time to myself, as well as sort out the things very calmly. And from that actually instance, actually the leadership thing started in reality. Before that, we both were handling it, but after his demise, then how to handle things, all the things, so much of work to do. So from that, I think the real leader in me came out.
Okay. Yeah, because
Yeah,
you've been doing really well.
yeah.
I'm sorry, I offer my condolences for that part. But you've really come a long way, though, I'd say.
Yeah,
You
it
managed it.
was a very challenging time because my son Arjun was born on 1st of May and my husband expired on 8th of May. So I was in a very delicate phase of my life. But yeah, life is like that, every all challenges come together and it tests you like how you are going to face the world in this situation. And I think I did face the world. I did a better job, I guess.
Yeah. How do you handle doubts or uncertainties when you first stepped into the leadership position?
Actually, there is no need to to be in a hurry to prove yourself, because your actions and your speak. Let your actions speak. Don't be in a hurry. I was not in a hurry that people should start noticing the leader in me or anything, because that I told you that time was so crucial that I was just I wanted to make the things right, everything normal, because everyone was panicked that time. So there I was not in a hurry. So I just told myself that yes, my actions should speak, my decisions should be proper, timely decisions. Right decisions, wrong decisions, that is not important. Timely decisions were important. And so I was patient with myself, and I just let my actions speak.
Real estate in Navi Mumbai has changed a lot in the last 30 years. How has Havre Legacy adapted to these changes?
Definitely. Real estate industry, when we started, like we started in Kharghar, and still remember in Kharghar I used to get down from my car on the highway and walk to my site because the roads were not there. There was muck all everywhere, and we used to go to the site. So that was the time, and now is the time that not only real estate in Navi Mumbai has evolved, real estate everywhere has evolved. For example, that time when we in 1990s or 1996, 7, 8, people wanted a home, a pad where they can stay. But now it has evolved that people want amenities also. They want some luxuries
Yeah.
also, some automation also. So it has definitely evolved. The construction techniques, technology has also evolved. Then marketing strategies have also evolved. So I still remember when we used to give advertisements in the newspaper and we used to book our buildings into in 15 days the whole building used to be sold out. But that was a builder's market. But now the transition has happened and now it is a customer's market. Now you have to wait for the customers because customer does his homework. Everything he knows, everything on social media he studies and then he comes. So we have evolved definitely with the market.
Okay. So, what do you think makes Havre Legacy stand out from other real estate developers in the game?
Havre Legacy stands out because I know why I am doing this business. See, anything, the one thing that an entrepreneur should know about is what he is doing, what business is doing. Yeah, it is a very common thing that what I am doing, I am selling houses. But it shouldn't be like that. It should be, I am giving my customer satisfaction of living in a home or buying a house.
Yeah.
That satisfaction is my main business.
But
I'm
what is
giving
it?
him yeah, I should give satisfy him that he is paid me money and he is very satisfied customer of mine, that is happy about what he has bought. So that I think I am trying to do since so many years. It has been 28, 29 years now. People, I think I have been able to maintain that reliability with my customers, that they still feel that reliability in me, that yes, because in housing industry, people give all their lifelong earnings to you.
Yeah.
And if they, I want to be that dependable company, that yes, we believe you, we trust you. That trust, I think Havre Legacy and Havre Engineers and Builders Private Limited, Ujjwala Havre Legacy, we are able to inbuilt that trust in our customers, and I think that makes us different from others.
Yeah. So you're from IIT Bombay Shailesh J Mehta School of Management. So has that influenced your leadership style and in business strategies specifically?
Definitely, it has influenced because see, I am an artist, I am an architect.
Yeah.
So, technicalities of business I did not understand. I knew how to do business, but there are growths, there are strategic plannings, there is marketing, financial growths, how you should strategize your business. All these things I didn't know much about it because I did this executive program in IIT Bombay. That definitely helped me
Okay.
in strategizing, in structuring my business. It definitely helped me in how I should diversify my business if I want to. All these things definitely I came to know after this program.
Okay. So as the world's changing, sustainability has to be on the rise as well. So affordable housing is one of your company's core focuses, right?
Right.
So how do you manage to keep it affordable while ensuring high quality?
See, there are many aspects of affordability. First of all, in construction, land is a very important and very expensive part when you buy a land. So, if the lands are little cheaper, and the cheaper lands are available only in the periphery of the city, in the center of the city, affordability is little difficult. So, land is one aspect. Then there is a construction aspect. But in construction aspect, you can't compromise with the quality, especially the core RCC. RCC, reinforced cement concrete, that is columns and steels and जो बेसिक ढांचा होता है बिल्डिंग का, you can't compromise with it. So that cannot become compromised. But the amenities you have to like the whatever material I am using, that also has to be very good quality. But some aesthetic points or the amenities you have to compromise the main important thing that we bring affordability into is the size of the flat. Right? Like very huge, big, spacious flats definitely are going to be expensive. If you reduce the cost, reduce the size by 25%, definitely the cost also reduces with it.
Yeah. Okay.
So, in earlier times, when we started the business, corporation or BMC, they were not allowing smaller flats. Like, इतना इतना size का habitable room होना ही चाहिए, then only it is allowed. But then we convinced them कि one room kitchens are also required, because then only the houses can be affordable.
Yeah.
At least people from with smaller budgets can have a one room kitchen, spacious, spacious or well ventilated one hall, well ventilated one kitchen with proper drainage line, with hygienic backgrounds. At least they don't have to stay in the slums, they can shift into a building with smaller houses. And I'm happy that this idea got convinced with the corporation people, and they started giving the permissions. And this is how we actually started with the concept of nano housing. Yeah, so nano housing basically is are the smaller houses which are affordable, and which even the smaller sections of the people, like auto rickshaw walas or the maids or the hawkers, even they can have their houses. So
Okay. So the concept of nano housing sounds really fascinating to me. Could you tell us how the idea came to life and how it's had an impact on affordable housing?
nano housing was the concept that we developed actually, because we wanted to do the houses more affordable. Because we knew, see, we are also from a humble background. We came to Mumbai and we also were not having a house when we came to Mumbai. We started staying in a rental house. And we, being architects, we had that idea that buying a house in Mumbai is not very easy. It is, the space is very expensive. So how to make it more affordable? So we developed this concept. I told you about reducing the size and all those things. So I can give you one very good example about this nano housing that we have constructed. I'm so proud of that project. In Kharghar, we had one plot. It was in the actually little far from Kharghar station, but now it has come to a very strategic location, of course. So this plot, we designed it in such a way that we had 200 flats designed in one building. Those were one room kitchens and one BHKs. And we saw to it that the cost of that house, this I'm telling you, in 2003 we designed this project. So majorly people who don't have their salary slips, like they are earning money like housemaids, they take everything in cash. Then there are auto rickshaw walas, there are hawkers, so many people who have money but they don't have salary slips. And because of that, the banks don't entertain them. So these people, they were so fascinated by this project that we sold this project off the shelf, you can say, immediately, very fast. And all these people were majorly staying in the slums. So I'm so happy that all these people had their own house in a very hygienic condition, a nice society, staying together. So I'm really proud of this nano housing project. We did certain more projects, but you know, these type of projects, I told you, the most important thing is land. If the location is very expensive, the land is very expensive, then these projects, they are difficult to be implemented. But if government provides more land at a cheaper rate, or they provide the commute, convenient commute, transportation, then I think more and more such projects can be implemented.
As a student, I also have sort of similar ideas, but then thinking about it, it's really hard to implement. And I'm really thankful that you're doing sort of these initiatives for homeless or people who have slums. We spoke about sustainability briefly, So how does Havre Legacy incorporate sustainability practices?
See, now the definitely that the corporation and the authorities have made very strict rules about sustainability, about certain things like rainwater harvesting or solar, solar cells. We have to for solar electricity and all those
Yeah.
things. But I want to tell you one thing that we have been working on this sustainability thing since we started the project. We always were very much concerned about the pure water. The corporation water is a very expensive water,
Yeah.
and using that expensive water for flushing is, I thought it is not a very good idea. So we always in our projects we dug a well or we did the boring so
Yeah.
that we can use the little salty water that might be for flushing at least. So that was one thing we started in this sustainability thing. But now definitely we are doing a compulsory rainwater harvesting in all our projects. We are using solar panels for electricity so that the common area lighting has at least can be done. And then one or two projects I have done this green projects also with IGBC certification. Then I have tree plantations and all to has to be done.
Yeah.
So then in my some commercial projects, I have used windmills for the lighting purpose.
Yeah.
So we try and we see to it that sustainability aspect has to be looked into because uh, we have to be concerned about the environment. Yeah.
With urbanization on the rise, how do you envision the future of affordable housing in Maharashtra? So, particularly as more and more people move towards the cities.
See, affordable housing now, even government has started taking very seriously, and that's why because of that, this Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana and all they are implementing, and I'm very happy that they are implementing. So more and more builders are now inclined towards doing those Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana type of projects. And I definitely want, as I told you, I want the government to demarcate certain lands for these affordable housing projects. Then and then only that affordability can be, achieved.
Yeah.
Otherwise, very expensive land, like in the center of city, I am doing redevelopment projects for MHADA and for private buildings also. But in that case, how will I be able to sell the flat in affordable prices if it is not affordable to me?
Yeah.
But if the lands and all are available for affordable prices, definitely, and we are doing it. In Titwala, we now our upcoming project is there, so there we will be doing it. In other parts of Mumbai, we will definitely do in the peripheral areas, of course. But in prime areas, it is little difficult, but still we try to keep the profit margins low and make it more affordable.
That's How would you describe your leadership style and has it progressed over the years?
My leadership style definitely has evolved. I don't know, you have to call it style or anything because see, I told you as soon as my husband expired, I came into a very different role, and I had to I had to just match myself to the situation, whatever was going on. So sometimes I had to be very strict, sometimes I have to be very very soft and understanding. But I feel in leadership you have to be, first quality you should have is you have to be very patient. Patience is the key. Then you have to have empathy towards the staff. You have to give the staff the personal space as well as the responsibilities also has to be in every individual has to have the responsibility. Then teamwork is very, very important. Giving credit to people. Like I always feel I never take the credit for myself. I have to give the credit to the team. because if the team is motivated, they will do better.
Yeah.
So all these factors, I think, with time and with experience, I learned and I have implemented them in my day-to-day activities. And I think that is why the company is growing. But being patient is very, very important.
With a large team under your leadership, how do you build a high performing work culture?
See, I told you, like, first, I want to give space to, I give space to all the individuals. Their personal and professional growth, both has to be taken care of. It is, I can't be selfish, like only professional, only my work and all those.
Yeah.
But their personal growth and is also very important. Their professional growth is important. Then it is a teamwork that I should also remember, and even the staff has to remember. Then I am very, very particular about the loyalty thing. The person who is working with me has to be loyal.
Yeah.
If I find something fishy is going on, I don't tolerate that at all. That is not allowed. The person has to, because, and my company, it is an old school company. Like, there are people with me who are, there are many people with me who are more than 20 years with me. So that I have to be empathetic towards
Yep.
everyone. If some family issues are there, or if some problems are there, definitely I should be considerate about, and I should be
Yeah.
helpful.
Yeah.
And we all work like a family. Like, if they are in all my happiness and sorrows, they are with me. In their happiness and sorrows, I have to be with them. So we are working on this concept. Loyalty is very important. Nothing fishy should go on in the company. Then hard work, there is no substitute to hard work. Everyone has to work things in a perfect way, proper way. Making mistakes is allowed, but you have to learn from those mistakes.
Yeah.
So these are all the things that I tell my my team,
Yeah.
and that's why, and we are working in this fashion.
Yeah. So balancing your personal and professional life. So as a mother and a business leader, both worlds might be challenging.
Yeah.
Then what advice would you give to women who are in the same situation, balancing work life and personal life?
See, one thing I would like to tell all the women, that if you want to work or if you want to start your own business, see to it that you have a very proper support from the family, support from your parents or your in-laws or your wives or spouses, whatever. You have to have a very good support, because without support, then it becomes really difficult. I personally, for myself, I had my mother with me, who looked after my house also, and my other things also. So she is a very big support to me. And for women, that is the very major thing, because otherwise, then you end up feeling guilty about certain things, and because it is very difficult to balance housework also and office work also.
Yeah.
So if there is good support, and you are very passionate about certain thing, you should go ahead and start working.
So have your children influenced your perspective of your work life? And do they support you? Like, are they like, do they have any ideas? Like how I used to sketch, maybe I would have done that. So do they give like sketches or something?
No, don't give sketches or anything, but definitely children have influenced. In earlier days, my son was very young, very, very, very. He was a baby when I actually took this leadership role. But that time, from I think from earlier days, I had set my priorities very right. That if my kids need me, I have to be there. If my business needs me, I have to be there. So many times, like recently, I just went to drop my son to US, and I think that was a need. I had to be there with him, because it was a very big transition for him. So whenever it is needed, I be there with them, and if it is not needed, I am not there. So they also understand. Yeah, mom is busy and she can't be there always. So they understand that, and I think they have seen me working very hard. They have seen the fruits of my hard work. So they understand, and now they are adults, so they also give me suggestions that what I should do, how I should. They majorly give me suggestions about the social media.
Yeah.
They give me suggestions about the marketing strategies. Whatever they like, they definitely give me the suggestions, and their suggestions are always welcome.
So, how has your background in architecture influenced your transition and your entrepreneurial journey into the real estate industry?
See, architecture and real estate is directly connected.
Hmm.
So, major things about technicalities of real estate is architecture.
Yeah.
So, I have learned all these technicalities in my college. So, I had the full idea about construction. I had a full idea about buildings, how to design them, what is needed, what are the construction materials required, what is how stability works in construction. So these technicalities I was very much aware about, and I was trained to construct houses. So that part was taken care of because I was an architect. And second thing in architecture is about visualization. You have to visualize things before they are constructed.
Yeah.
So, you are trained to have a vision. So I can visualize things. I can visualize. So for an entrepreneur, the main thing that is you should have a vision.
Yeah.
So I think I had the vision. So that part was also handled by my architectural degree.
Okay.
All architects don't
Yeah.
have vision,
Yeah.
but definitely I can say that I definitely have the vision. So architecture helped me in different ways, I think so.
So, for young people like me who are interested in entrepreneurship, so what career path would you suggest for them?
See, this is a very generic question.
Yeah.
Because career paths or career is a very cyclic thing. But if you definitely want to enter real estate or any business or any you know any scheme, this thing in business. So first thing you have to know is you should like for example manufacturing. In manufacturing you have to manufacture something which is of mass use.
Yeah.
Like for I started constructing houses for mass use, for masses.
Yeah.
So Chota, like you must be knowing Prahlad Kakkar. He is associated, I think so, with this institute. He had once said, "Ki if you want to produce something, manufacture something, produce that for mass use, like a small chocolate or a small pen, for that matter."
Yeah.
But these small companies are, how much turnover they have. So one thing is that then you should have integrity. Like if you are you will not become an entrepreneur suddenly. You have to work for some company, you have to work for someone else, but whatever you do it with integrity. Then you should have patience. You should be loyal to whatever you are doing, to whoever you are working for. These are very very important things. Then you should if you are starting a company, like if I have started a company, my company have some ethics. My company has some values, and which values I don't at all compromise. Like if I am doing certain thing, if I am constructing a building, I have to have the quality checks. I have to use the material, good quality material. I can't compromise with its stability. These are the underlined things that I have done for my company, which I don't compromise at all. So these values you should have. You can't have a company which is doing unethical things. Then you are not a lambe race ka ghoda, you can't become. You should have ethics, you should have values of your own in your company. And I think I have those values, and that's why I'm in the market since so many years.
So, looking ahead, what's your vision for Havre Legacy in upcoming years?
In upcoming years, definitely I'm doing, I started with developing plots in Navi Mumbai. Then I started redevelopment projects. I'm doing lots of redevelopment projects in Mumbai. I am doing in Vikhroli. I am doing my projects in Chembur. I'll be starting a project in Borivali now. Then I have a big project coming in Pain. I have a good, nice project coming in Titwara. I have a good project coming in Thane. So these are the projects that are coming. So it is nearly 15 to 20 lakh square feet that I am going to develop in this coming year. So these are the things that are that I am doing in construction, as well as I have diversified also. I am now into manufacturing and co-packing. I have 4 factories. I do copper water for Tata. Food and beverages I am into. So I am associated with Tata's. So only for exclusively for Tata, I do certain products. So I have 4 factories for that also. So I have diversified my business into new things. I'm exploring.
If I may, where in Borivali? I'm from Borivali. I mean, I could. Where in Borivali?
Magathani.
That's where I live.
So my project
I
is
might,
coming in
I might
Magathani.
turn up. Who knows? Let's see.
Nice,
So,
nice.
when you think about your personal and professional journey, how do you hope your legacy will be remembered?
See, actually, I don't believe in my legacy or anything because I want to do my work as it is now and here. I want to do my work. Tomorrow, I don't know. If my kids really like the work I am doing, they may take it ahead. I don't know about it, and I don't expect also. But what I am doing, I am concerned about it, and I want to do it perfectly at this time here itself. So that's what I say.
So, looking back on your journey so far, what would you say is your biggest standout accomplishment in your idea?
The biggest accomplishment, there are many accomplishments, but I'm really proud of one project that I told you about, the Shramik Cooperative Housing Society. It is 200 flats project
The
with
Kharghar one.
Kharghar one. I'm so proud of that project because it is housing 200 families. They are happily living there, and it was so difficult for them to actually buy a house, but they made it, and we also helped them with. They were not getting loans from even the banks, but it was we who gave them loans. My finance company gave them the loan, and I'm so proud to tell you that not even a single family is a defaulter. All repaid the money. So I'm in awe of that project.
You
I
guys,
love that project very much.
they had that trust in you. You had that
They
trust.
they had that trust. People considered us that you all are making a mistake. Don't do this, but
Those are the people who want
yeah,
profits, money, and
yes,
stuff.
yes.
So, as someone who's achieved so much, what keeps you driving to push forward and continue?
There are many things that motivates me to continue this business. First thing is that house is the basic need of of every Indian.
Yeah.
Everyone wants a house. So when I see satisfaction in their eyes, and they are so thankful about the the house that they are staying in, it gives me immense satisfaction. I'm so happy to when I go and when I visit the site and see the building coming up. It is like raising a child. So I get a lot of satisfaction when I give the possession of the house. It is a different emotional moment for always. It is an emotional moment for me. Then the customer feedback uh, definitely motivates me to uh, do more and more projects. One of the project I would like to tell you about is I was taking one redevelopment project, and I went to meet those people, and they were old people, and they just asked me one thing, ki, Madam, will we be able to see our new flat? Because that is a sad thing in this redevelopment thing, that builders take the buildings, do the agreement, and don't give the new flat for so many years. They delay the projects 10, 15 years. In that process, so many people, old people die. They are not able to even see their new flat. Their sons might enjoy the new flat, but they are not able to.
They work for
So
it.
that was so touching for me, and I just promised them that I will complete your project in 2 years, 2.5 years, and I kept that promise. My project in Vikroli, the redevelopment project of 22 floors, I completed in 2.5 years and gave them a proper. We had a big celebration, and all the old people who spoke to me, I called them on the dais and gave the position to them, and I was very happy about it. So such type of instances definitely, they motivate you to do more projects.
So, being in your position, you've been through a lot of challenges and mistakes, you've overcome them. So, what are some common mistakes you've seen other entrepreneurs make? And how do you know any ways to avoid them?
See, I can't tell you the mistakes about other entrepreneurs because making mistakes is not wrong. Everyone makes mistakes, but learning from that mistakes is definitely important. Uh, whatever you are doing, you have to be aware. In my thing, what I have done, like while starting a project, what I do, I call all the head of departments and tell them that this is the piece of land and we are going I give them the presentation. Actually, we keep the presentation, and they also give some inputs into it. They tell us their ideas. So in such things, when it becomes a teamwork, the mistakes are avoided. The issues that might come later are avoided. So we do that, and I think that has given me definitely good results. Then very important other thing which I have seen, that many entrepreneurs or builders, they over trade or over commit. Like people do false commitments or over commitments, which are very dangerous. Many companies end up doing this, and then there's a disaster. So such over commitments, you should stay away from these over commitments and over trading things. Like whatever is the capacity of you, or what are the capabilities of you, you should work in that much only.
Yeah.
Don't overdo things. And the most important thing that I think third time I'm telling you is patience.
Yeah.
Because there are problems, because this industry is a very big industry. There are many challenges in this industry. When we started, there were some what you say, some land mafias and all those things also are involved. So you have to be patient, and you have to sort things out very, very patiently.
Yeah.
So these are the things, and things get sorted out.
So, we've already spoken about some upcoming projects. So, how do you ensure that each project aligns with your vision of affordable housing for all families in India?
I told you how I ensure is when I decide to buy a land, or if I have a land and I decide to make an affordable housing project, I see to it that it is designed in a way that it is affordable. Because design part is very important. If I design it in a very lavish way and big rooms and big open spaces and huge facilities, that will not make it affordable. It will definitely make it more expensive. So the design part of the land part of it is very important, and the design part is very important. Then the facilities and amenities that we give are very important. So plus after all these things are planned out, then the finances, if I'm taking loans or anything at a very expensive rate of interest, then it doesn't make it again. So I have to see that how I make available the finances and all that part. So all these things have to be considered. These are all like different views of, like, if I have to make affordable project, I have to have many things I have to look into, and I do it in that way.
Okay.
Planning is, I think, very important.
So, are there any innovative features coming out in your upcoming projects?
See, I am doing redevelopment projects now, and plus I am doing some development projects at the periphery of Mumbai. I am doing in Pen and all those areas. So the projects which I am doing in the city, that is redevelopment projects, I see to it that they are the small plots. They are not very big plots. So the amenities that I can give in these projects uh, have to be given on the terrace. That I give beautiful terrace gardens. I give terrace swimming pools. I see to it that that my project has gymnasiums.
Yeah.
Then I see to it that the parking is sufficient. I have given full automated parking systems in my project because the ample parking is required. Then in the peripheral areas where I do the project, where the plots are available, I see to it that I give good sports facilities like
Turfs,
the
basketball
turfs,
courts.
basketball court, swimming pool,
Yeah.
clubhouse.
Yeah.
Then definitely I have decided one thing. See, when you enter a house, the woman of the house is very important. She works the housewife. She
Yeah.
works full day in the house, in the kitchen. The kitchen has to be good.
Hmm.
There should be a dry balcony because drying clothes is the major part in Indian household.
Yeah.
So, and when it is the clothes are hanging outside the balcony, it looks really, it doesn't look very nice. So there should be a proper space to for drying the clothes. There should be a proper space for washing machines for washing the dishes.
Yeah.
So all these design part, I personally look into it. Then there's aesthetic view also, that all the buildings should be good. Their lobby should be very welcoming. Then sustainability, I told you,
Yeah.
I look into all the sustainability things like rainwater harvesting, that solar panels, then sewage treatment, then wet waste management.
Yeah.
All these things are very important regarding to the environment. So that also we implement in our projects.
What challenges have you overcome in your recent projects, if any?
There are many challenges which keep on coming, and those are the part and parcel of this business.
Yeah.
So, but I would like to tell you one challenge which I recently faced. So, I was doing one project in Thane, and my project was fully complete, but I was not getting OC because OC is occupancy
Yeah.
certificate. So, because one portion which I had given as a recreational ground for the project was encroached by a family, by the people, neighboring local people, and that encroachment was so much that whenever I used to go to build that compound wall in that area, the ladies or family members used to come and sit in that project, and they were not allowing anything to be constructed, and that was so dangerous.
It gets
Yeah, it was like we waited for 6 months that we
Yeah.
could do, but it was not possible. They were like they were the landowners earlier. We had bought that land from them, but they didn't want to leave that. They said, "No, no, this is our land only. Will not leave." So in that case, in such situations, you have to be you have to take certain decisions, strong decisions. So with the commissioner, I discussed this problem with the commissioner, and I said, 150 people are waiting for their house, and because of one family, 150 people are suffering, because if the possession gets delayed, people are paying EMIs, they are paying their loans,
Yeah.
and it's a loss making proposition, right?
Some of them are also
Yeah, it's a loss for everyone.
Yeah.
So I said we have to take some decision, and in that situation, I actually went to the commissioner and told them I am ready to leave that portion of the plot, and you reduce the whatever built up area has been. I'll pay that extra money, and I actually paid quite a big amount to the corporation as a penalty for leaving that portion of the land. And I constructed the compound wall, whichever I had to, and gave the possession. See, it was a financial loss for me, but I thought that it was a right decision rather than just keeping on fighting with these people, because local people many times trouble a lot in our business. And because it is their chance, they want to, earn more money from, blackmailing sort of things.
Yeah.
But in that situation, I think I took this decision of paying the penalty and taking the occupancy certificate and giving the possession. So these type of challenges keep on coming, and it happens. You have to be patient, take proper decision, and I told you there are no right decisions or wrong decisions. There are timely decisions,
Yeah.
and these in business you have to have these type of timely decisions.
So looking forward, what trends do you think will have the biggest impact on the construction industry?
See, basically, construction is going on in a conventional way, majorly. But there are new trends that have come. Uh, Now, everyone wants, like, if we I'm doing a redevelopment project, so I want to give the possession as soon as possible. I have to complete the building as soon as mm, early as possible, because it is heavy on my pocket also to give the rents. I have to give the rent to the local tenants
Yeah.
from whom I have taken the plot. So nowadays, my one technique has come, which is a faster technique to construct.
Yeah.
So these techniques, I think, majorly many big builders has taken into, and because of that, the construction becomes very very fast. So those techniques are coming. Then nowadays 3D modeling has come. I don't know, but how important, how influential it will be for the multi-level this thing structures. For maybe bungalows and all, it might be useful, but it is not in very common still.
Yeah,
But
it's
it
still-
might come
Yeah.
in a big way.
Yeah.
Then there are precast things that are happening, precast constructions. So people construct major walls and major columns and beams somewhere else, bring them
Oh,
and put
yeah,
them
yeah,
together
yeah,
and construct. So that is also coming. Then there is the marketing things have also, the social media
Yeah,
is
you
very much
mentioned.
influential. Uh, so there are lots of, changes, and evolve. Everything is evolving,
Yeah.
and you don't know what will come tomorrow.
Yeah.
And you have to be really updated what is
Yeah.
happening.
Yeah.
And there are so many good things also happening. So all these, whatever is suitable for us, we definitely implement, and which is difficult, we don't implement.
Yeah.
So we are actually keeping ourselves updated, definitely. Yeah.
Any social responsibilities that Havre Legacy actively works on seeking out?
Yes. Actually, I always believe that when you are working and when you are doing some business, you definitely have certain responsibility towards the society. So, I would love to tell you that my company is definitely associated with certain social things. But the most closest to my heart is we have started a dharmashala in Khargar, and that dharmashala actually caters to cancer patients and their relatives who are taking treatment in Tata Cancer Research, Khargar.
Yeah.
So they don't have space to stay. If they have to stay for a longer period, they needed space to stay in a very affordable cost. So I built one dharmashala in Khargar, and there the beds are available for 50 rupees with lunch, dinner, and breakfast. In 50 rupees they can stay. So I think that facility is very important facility, because cancer patients, they are already paying so much for the treatment, and they can't afford hotels or anything to stay. So this facility is catering to so many people, people coming from Uttar Pradesh, even from Nepal, from Jammu Kashmir, from South, everywhere the people come and stay in that. So at present, I'm doing that. Rest other things are going on. So this is a very This cause is very close to my heart.
That's very generous of you, ma'am. So, as an industry leader, what initiatives or programs do you think are essential for encouraging more women in the construction field?
Nowadays, there are many women actually who are entering the construction field. One thing I wanted to just clear, there are already women in construction.
Yeah.
They might not be the face of the company, but architecture majorly is handled by women. Accounts is handled by women. Then clerical things are majorly handled by women. So back office staff, there are many women working in the office. But if they want to come do direct if civil engineering things, they want to do some trainings or internships, so my company is always open to such women, such girls who really want to do some internships with my company or some trainings with my company. Such, or not only me, I think there are many companies who will be open to do it. So they just have to take a plunge. They have to take the decision that I want to be do this, and I think if you decide that you want to do it, you can do it.
So the construction industry mostly being male dominated and families gatekeeping their daughters from joining this industry due to safety concerns. Do you have any opinions or overview about this topic?
See, as I told you, it can't be considered a male dominated business. Why? I told you, because back office is handled by a lot of women. So there are very few women who are doing civil engineering, but there are women who are doing. So it is not that there are any safety issues or anything. See, everything is in the mind. Everything. If certain place is unsafe, it is unsafe for everyone. It is not only unsafe for women; it is unsafe for men also. So I, being in this business for so many years, I have never experienced anything wrong or any bias, gender bias. I have not experienced. And if ever I have experienced such thing, that is only for few seconds. Example I'll give you. If I am going to meet some officer, and that officer might have a thought for few seconds, ki what this woman, what will I talk with this woman, how much she will understand or not. But that is in his mind, not my mind. But if I go to him and if I am thorough professional and if I mean serious business, that thought in his mind will vanish and he also will talk to me very professionally. So all these things, that safety issues and all these whatever things we think about, these are in the mind. So we should first, if you have to work in a professional line, you have to first become strong and remove that gender bias from your mind. ठीक है, that person might think about you, but that is his problem. You have to be very professional in your approach. And if you are professional in your approach, the person who you are approaching will also be professional. So the gender bias, women should first remove it from their own mind, and then everything will be fine. And safety issues, as you are saying, safety issues are everywhere. You have to be very careful about your safety. If you are careful about your safety, there won't be any problem. If you are taking unnecessary risk and unnecessarily you are doing certain things, then there might be safety issues for everyone. So it is you who has to take care of yourself. And I feel if you are professional and if you mean serious business, people will definitely take you seriously. You might be of any gender in that case.
So, ma'am, how was your overall experience with IEC today?
My experience was very good. I'm quite impressed by the way you have conducted this podcast. It was very good.
As we wrap up this fascinating discussion with Ms. Ujwala, I hope you gained a deeper understanding of the intricacies of the real estate and infrastructure world. So, and this inspiring journey of a leader who's broken and set major new values. Her insights into affordable housing, sustainability, and leadership have provided us with valuable lessons that resonate beyond the business world. A heartfelt thank you to ma'am for giving
Thank
her
you.
time to us and making her way here. So, ma'am, how was today's experience for you?
It was an amazing experience. Actually, speaking to younger generation like you, actually there is so much to learn from you all. Even I just imagine myself when I was of your age, I didn't understand anything. But you all are so updated. You all know so much, and I'm in awe of the knowledge and the way you all are presenting yourself. You all are doing fabulous job.
Thank you so much, ma'am. So it's been a pleasure to have you. Thank you
Thank
for
you.
joining
Thank you
us.
for having me here. Thank you so much.
So, would you have something to say to the viewers, like any advice?
I'm not that great to advise anyone, but I will definitely tell the younger generation that you all should be job givers rather than
Okay.
job seekers.
Yeah.
So you should definitely you should work for some years, but plan to have your own business.
Hmm.
It's good to have your own business and employ people and help people. So that's it.
Okay. Thank you so much, ma'am.
Welcome.
My name is Krish Sharma, and it's been a pleasure to host this episode. To our wonderful audience, thank you for joining us. Make sure to subscribe, leave a comment, and share it with the others. We have more engaging discussions lined up, so stay connected for future episodes. Until we meet again, keep pushing boundaries, keep innovating, and keep shaping the world around you. Take care and stay inspired.